Doing. Can't say. Help. Right. Never mind. See, this one's charging now. Charger could be broken. Right. Let's have a look. I got a drink before I started. Right, can everybody hear me alright? Every Kitty says hi everyone. How we doing? Indeed. Hi everyone. Try not to move that around too much. How's audio? Hear me alright? I need to turn it up. Whew. A bit warm in here. All my stuff set up. Being yeah, nice and yeah, good. See. Hey Neo. Hello Hellfire. How are you? How's everybody doing? Can you hear the background music? Just wanted something on in the background, just so it wasn't completely silent. Just. Did I turn it up, or it's only supposed to be in the background? It's not supposed to be too loud. Tell us if I should turn it down. Yeah, good, thanks. All sound is coming. Champion. Champion. Oh, it's nice, just have it. Right, cool. Jobs are good. Right, so you all know the fiasco we had with the motherboard last week. Here is the culprit. 1 gigabyte my board, yeah. A320M. And it's dead. And what killed it? Well, curiosity, of course, killed the cat. And CEX actually killed the PC. CEX's graphics card had choices. And then revenge on CEX's PC, exactly. So, never mind. Anyway, I've got my refund for the graphics card, and Amazon are going to be refunding the motherboard to send it back. So, this is the case that we're putting in Antec EX1200, I think it is. Anyway, it's a decent sized case. It's an ATX case, so it can take up a full size motherboard in this area here. That's what goes. I've left the fans in. You probably can't see them because they're off the shot a little bit. But the fans on the right hand side here, fans on the top, fan down here on the here, and I've left the hard drive in. But I can talk about things like that. If you want me to talk about the hard drive and how you would put that in and take it out, etc., I can do that. So it's a decent case, this. It's got plenty of airflow in the front. It's got 2 exhaust fans on top, 1 exhaust fan to the rear, all 120mm fans. That's like a standard size that you get for fans. You can fit 3 fans at the front. intake of air, one fan to the bottom to pull in cool air from the bottom. I've left my cable management in place so that I don't have to reroute all the cables. Basically, we're going to jump in and start with the motherboard. That's what we're going to be doing first, the motherboard. Right, so generally, I don't know how well you can see this because of the reflection of the light, but all around this case on the back here, what we call the standoffs. This is what the motherboard screws into. Now the reason you have standoffs placed all around like that is so that the motherboard does not come into contact with the case. If a part of the motherboard that is electrically charged comes into contact with the case, that would ground the motherboard out and short circuit, and then it wouldn't want to boot up because the power supply would just keep shutting down constantly. I have tested this motherboard this morning. I know everything works. Just done a quick bench test of it where didn't put it in the case. Basically, you get a non-conductive piece of material such as cardboard, anything like that. You basically build your bench on the cardboard, put the motherboard on, plug in your power supply, put your processor in, your memory, whatever. Make sure it can boot. Make sure it powers up and it stays powered up. So it did. I'm happy with that. Right. Any questions at this point? Just chuck them in the chat. I can see the chat from here. I need to zoom it in a little bit or see if I can make it bigger. Further away from. That's better. Okay. Right, now we're perfect. Right. So this is, can I get it? This is the motherboard that we're going to be replacing it with, the B450M Gaming. This is an M-ATX board, I believe. So it's smaller than the ATX board. This case can accommodate an ATX, an M-ATX and an ITX board. And all the different standoffs are labelled for which ones you should use. I have my little packet of goodies, screws and all sorts and bits and pieces that I use when I'm building the computers. Comes in handy just to have those little bits of spares every now and again you need them. Right, then this thing. That is an anti-static wristband. Now, a lot of people might tell you, you don't need them. Right? I'm working on a wooden floor, so it's unlikely that I would have any sort of static charge that I could damage components with. Because I'm standing on a wooden floor, I haven't got any shoes on, so I'm unlikely to have any static. So, but if you were doing this on carpet or anything like that, I would recommend that you use anti-static wrist. I'm going to use one just for the sake of using one, and you know, just in case. Better to be safe than sorry. So basically, that goes on your wrist. Got a metal pad underneath that comes into contact with you to ground you, and the other end got like a button style, goes onto the wristband. So that's attached. And on the other end, you've got like crocodile clip. Now, what this is, I'm going to attach this to the case, just in this bottom corner. Attach that down there. Back up here so you can see. And what they recommend is that you touch bare metal, or the case, or the power supply, something for about 10 to 15 seconds, just to make sure you discharge any static electricity from you so that you don't damage these components, because they can be quite sensitive to static discharge. Now the graphics card that I received from CEX came in a box, right? So big, this box. Graphics card was about so long. Inside the box, I opened up the box. It's just wrapped up in bubble wrap, like three massive layers of bubble wrap covering this graphics card. Now that, for a start, when I seen that, I thought, well, this doesn't look good already. Components, any components come inside this style of bag. This is an anti-static bag. So again, we're trying to keep static. Far too much bubble wrap. It was far too much bubble wrap. And I think that's what killed the graphics card, to be fair. It must have been holding a static charge, and as soon as I've plugged it into the motherboard, it's discharged, and that's what killed the motherboard. But you know, we'll probably never know at this point. All I know is that that motherboard is dead. This one's working, so we're going to carry on from there. So, like I say, at this point, normally what you would do is you would put in your standoffs. And you would screw them down, make sure they were nice and tight, nothing's loose. Then you get your motherboard. Put this out whilst I'm still in your bag for your motherboard, or in the box for the motherboard. You'd have one of these shiny metal things. This is an I/O shield, input-output shield. Again, it's similar to a standoff. It's just so that it doesn't touch the motherboard itself and short out. So we have to make sure this goes the correct way around. So the correct orientation. Normally, these are going to be for microphone, speakers. I don't know how well you can see that. Probably not very well because of the light. Microphone, speakers, and line in, line out. USB slots here. This is for your DVI, your HDMI's, and these ones up here. PS2, but nobody uses PS2 anymore that I know of. So I don't really understand why they still make motherboards with PS2 ports. Basically, that goes in the back of the motherboard, in here. Where my hands come. Yeah. What I'll do is I'll give you a better angle on that. Hello, motherboard. So that's where that goes, on there. So if you've ever plugged anything in the back of the computer, that's the part that you'll normally just see the input-output shield with the ports. I need a shocker mount or something on this camera. There you go. Make sure that's clipped in nice and firmly. It'll go click. It's in. And that's got to go in first before you put the motherboard in. Put the motherboard in. And then put that in. Now, here's the motherboard. Like I say, this one's quite small, so it's going to look extremely out of place in this this unit here. I'm going to try and get it lined up. See the screw holes underneath. Gently. All I'm going to do is get a screw, and I'm just going to so I can secure this in. And then once the motherboard is secure, then I can we can talk through a little bit about the different features on the motherboard itself. I'm gonna one more in up the top here, just to make sure that it's secure. Right. Okay, well that looks quite nice for a component. You don't really see that much. Well, that's one of the reasons why I went for this board. Turn that down. One of the reasons I went for this board is just the design. On this computer itself, it's got see-through window, so I'm hoping that we'll see that. Because as well as the design, just around here, probably can't see it, but there is an LED strip in there, just down that bit there, which glows red. So I think the new colour scheme for this build is going to be red. Right. Like I say, if you've got any questions, just throw them in the chat for us and I'll answer them as soon as they come in. I've cheated a little bit, okay? I went a bit too far ahead, but that's just because, like I say, I did a test on this morning just to make sure that this worked. So I'm cheating a little bit. But here, I've already got the supports in for the water cooler. So what would happen is, attached it back to this board. I'll just swing this one under. So when you get your board, you get these here, these supports, and these are for, I've got them the wrong way around actually. Board, I've just put them back, just for shipping. They attach to the back plate, and that's for your cooler, whether that's your stock cooler like a fan, or could be an all-in-one cooler. My other all-in-one cooler uses those brackets, but this one doesn't use those brackets. These use its own style of bracket. Keep it nice and secure. So I'm sure you've all seen PC Building Simulator by now. You've either seen me streaming it or you'll have seen Squire of Twitch streaming. And everything should look exactly the same as what it does on that game. The motherboard's in, you lift your lever up, and then you install your processor. This is an AMD board with an AM4 socket. Got your memory slots on the right hand side of the processor, or I'd say 85% of boards that the consumer is going to buy, the memory slots are going to be on the right hand side of the processor, whether that be 2 slots or 4 slots. In this board, it's quite a compact board. It's only got 2 slots. You can get compact boards with 4 slots, but this one just comes with 2. We're not going to be using a massive amount of memory in this machine. It is just a spare machine, but it does support up to 64 gig of memory. So like I say, this is here where your CPU goes. That's your processor. You can see various connections around the board. So up here and above this little Gigabyte logo here, this is where the board gets its power from, the processor. Down the right hand side here, this is where the main plug goes from the power supply into the board. This is which is going to power everything. Got the PCI slot. PCI slot for your graphics cards. These littler ones, these are PCI Express. Those are for things like network cards. So I'll show you the difference in the cards. Bear in mind, this is just a really, really cheap graphics card that we bought from CEX to get this machine up and running. It doesn't even have a fan, it just has a heatsink. Surprised that this one is still going, because we bought this one from CEX as well. This is still going and the other one died. This is an HD 5450 by AMD. It's a 1 GB, I believe, graphics card, but you know what? It's got VGA, it's got HDMI, and it has a DVI connection as well. Bottom, that is your PCI connection. That will just slot in there. Going around the rest of the features on the board, this part here, I don't know how well you can see that. Light might be shining on it just a little bit, but just to the right hand side, slightly closer look. So just to the right hand side here, like there's your PCI Express here. The right hand side here, you have the slot for an M.2 drive. That's what your screws for as well, because you move your screw, and that accommodates different size of your NVMe or your M.2 SATA drive, which I have here. So hard drives are normally big and bulky. I have a spare one. That's a very good question. Yes, I do. Right. This is a hard drive. Drive that you would normally see inside computers. Big, it's bulky, and this one is a 500 gig Samsung drive. Hard drives are relatively slow. After hard drives, the next step up is SSDs. SSDs are slightly smaller. See over here, I've got this little cutout here. Now on that there's 4 screw holes. That is where you would mount a 2.5 inch SSD. Most hard drives in desktop computers are 3.5 inch. Most laptop hard drives are 2.5 inch. SSDs are 2.5 inch. That would go on there. There's multiple locations for it. But I haven't got an SSD in this one. What else is on this board then? We've got a couple of fan headers, 4-pin fan headers, 1, 2, 3, which is going to cause a little bit of a problem for me. Basically because the amount of fans I've got and everything, and I've got the all-in-one cooler to run from the fan supply as well. And the best part, this. A nice close up here. This is memory. This is DDR4 memory, and basically what we've done with this is I've took the normal heatsink off. I think it's Ballistics memory, that HyperX Ballistic, something like that. I basically took the heatsink off and I put my own heatsink on. The heatsink that is now on that is RGB, so it lights up. Woohoo! However, for it to light up, it needs to be plugged into a fan header. Right, so let's install some memory then. Now, as I say, this is a RAM module or a memory module. This is DDR4. This is the 4th iteration of memory. Now, don't know how well you'll actually be able to see this on the camera, but this side is shorter than this side. So that notch isn't in the middle, it's more to the right. So that would be the middle there. It's just off to the right hand side, which means these things only go in one way. Can't force them in. If you look there, that's one way. That doesn't work, so it has to go around. What we're going to do is we're just going to push it down till we hear it pop in. What I should do, should get the rest of these screws in. Now that I've got the board in place. I just want to talk about the screws as well. but they've got like a little bit of a washer around them. Helps with the grounding. Stops them from contacting the actual board. Stops it from shorting out. In. Much more. We've got one up here. Probably one on the left hand side as well. One's the trickiest. Corner. Shouldn't have tightened them up until I had them all in, but never mind. In there now. Now I'm just going to go around. I mean, this little screwdriver pen thing, I got it from B&M. It was only a couple of quid, but it's perfect for working on the computer. As I say, the best thing for you to do if you're going to work on computers is get yourself all these little bits. I mean, these things I've collected over time. Oops, there goes the camera. Apologies. Try not to do that again. Got myself caught in the wire. Not doing that. Collected them over time, basically. Just every component that I've bought, just keep all the screws. Any screws that you get, just keep the screws. You never know when they're going to come in handy. Right. We don't have a PCI lock per se on this computer because each PCI slot has its individual cover and lock. So basically, our graphics card's going to sit in this PCI slot here, but the shield is in the way, so we have to take that out. Do that without like little thumb screws. These, if they've been over tightened previously, they're a nightmare to get out. Right, basically graphics card's going to go in to this slot here. You'll notice this little clip. Now when I push the graphics card in, this little clip is going to jump into the closed and locked position. Moving the camera again because I'm pulling on the wire. Sorry. I can't do it without. The wire's like right in the way. Silly wire. So just line it up and push it in, and it should go click. And that lock. That lock should go in all the way in and secure the card in position. Now, this card is missing a little piece, which I would then secure up here. Missing since we bought the card. I'm not going to worry about that. Not a big deal. Right. Next part. This is where the magic's going to happen. Anybody know what this is? Anybody any idea what this would be? One of the reasons why I went for this board, no clue. One of the reasons why I went for this board over the other one is when I upgrade graphics card in this, the next graphics card is going to be dual size, so it's going to take up 2 slots. And the fans on graphics cards are at the bottom. That is so that they can pull fresh, cold air up from below them and spew it out wherever. That's how graphics cards stay cool. So if I was to place this card below it and have the graphics card right there, it's not going to be able to pull in any cool air. So one of the reasons I went for this board is it's got the PCI Express slot at the top as well, above the graphics card. I have to just make sure that I get this correctly. Very well. Oh, sorry, everything's in the way. This one's not going to clip in. There's no clip secure in this. That's where these little thumb screws come in. Right, so for those of you, that's nice and secure there. Those of you who don't know what this is an AVerMedia 1080p no pass-through called. Don't know if that's gonna. Shouldn't be. Might have to put it in this one for now. That's a capture card. This here is an internal capture card. What I'm gonna do, because there's a spring and a screw on the back of this graphics card, cheap graphics card, which is touching the exterior of the capture card, and I don't want anything really touching. So just for my peace of mind, I'm going to move the capture card for now into the lower slot, which may cause more issues. Shall see. Even though I can't see. Right, so yeah, no, it's going to have to go back up the top. We're just going to have to live with it. That was another reason why capture card wasn't in this computer to start with. It was actually in my other machine. Get it in and I shall tell you why. It's a bit of an issue here. Gotta find the yeah. I'm gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that live on stream. Right, secure the card. Right. I was going to put it here, but this then causes a problem for all these connections along the bottom, because that card covers them up. There's things like front audio. This is our front audio connector here, would go on there, and this card's just a little bit too big and cause a problem with that. So that's like I say, that's your capture card. Should be using that soon enough. So front audio. Well, you can see early, but I wouldn't be. What? I didn't early, but no idea. No idea. Do what? This little connection here, that's better. You can see that there. It's got 9 open holes, one hole blocked off. Then can't really see that. Down here, this is where our front audio connection is. Everything on the board is labelled. You can't go wrong. Everything's labelled. So that's front audio because it's coming from the front. On the board it's labelled front audio. To make a PC. Oh, you didn't know it was so easy. I wouldn't be able to do it. I said early, but I know what you mean. Right. But even if these weren't labelled, I'm looking for a 9-pin layout that matches this plug, and there's only one place that it can go. It's in this one back here. Push that on, make sure it's nice and secure. I mean, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's like 10 different. You're busy watching YouTube. Alright, sorry. Like 10 different connections here where you can put things in. Like I say, the next one, this one, this is the USB 3 for the front. That's pretty simple because how many connections it is, I know that's going to go there. There's nowhere else that one can go. But like I say, this one, it could go in some of these other ones as well. Which I don't actually have a front USB. Oh. Maybe. No, that only be USB. So that plugs in there. Like I say, the things can only go in one place 9 times out of 10. They'll only go one way. This is a SATA data cable. These are our SATA ports up here, 1, 2, 3, and there's a separate one up here. I'm just going to have a look. It says 0, 1, 2, and then this one up here is 3. We're just going to plug this in at 0. Again, it's shaped so it'll only go in one way. That's for our hard drive. Now, made a mistake. Who knows what I've done wrong so far? Anybody know what I've done wrong? Can you have a guess? Done something wrong. I've forgotten to put something in. I talked about it earlier and I didn't do it. Should have done it while I was talking about it. This little NVMe. I don't think I'm not going to be able to get that in. Did you forget the glue? I haven't put the processor in yet, so there's no thermal paste in yet. Don't worry about that. NVMe. So these little NVMe drives are dead easy to put in. The lower one as well. Oh, I didn't forget the glue. It's not glue. That's what you call it, so let you off. I'm going to take out this tiny little screw. I just on the end of my screw. Tiny. At that one side. Right? And if anybody is thinking about upgrading their PC, the hard drive, you know what I mean, of course I know what you mean. These drives are the way forward. NVMe. This isn't actually NVMe. This is an M.2 SATA, which means it's slower, but it uses the same port. This port here. Now the best way to put these in is at about a 45-degree angle into the slot. Push it in. It slides straight in. Yeah. Then what we're going to do is get our little screw. We're going to push that down Push the drive down, secure it with the screw. Nice and gently, we're not applying any pressure, and it's in. And now that drive is connected to the motherboard. We can use that as an internal storage device. It's only 120 gig, not massive. It may possibly be big enough to put an operating system on, which will actually load and run much faster than off the hard drive. That is my plan with this drive, but I'm not entirely sure whether 120 is going to be enough. I would have preferred a 250 for an OS drive. So for the minute, I'm going to stick with the hard drive. Got a couple of cables here just hanging about. These are the power LED and the power switch. Again, it's labelled on the board exactly where these things go. Down here, on this little white connector here, you probably, the writing's so small, you probably won't be able to see it on the help that I'm in the way. Right, this one here, a little grid layout at the bottom. One of them says reset switch, one of them says power switch, one of them says power LED. What else? We've got hard drive light, and there's a speaker. So this one here on the left is power switch, and this one here on the right is power LED. Now, on one of these, let's take the power LED. It tells me power LED plus on the top, minus on the bottom. So I know, right, look for power LED plus and minus. Yeah, I can see that. I know exactly where to put them in. Power switch, however, does not have positive and negative markings on the front. But if you turn it over, on one of them pins there is an arrow, and the arrow points to the positive. So it's pretty much the same. It's positive on the top and negative on the bottom. However, that could be different for different manufacturers or different cases. But if you look for the arrow, that'll tell you which one the positive is. You know, you just go in, have a look for where your positive is. There's me positive. Make sure that I line up positive onto the right pin. Push it down so it's secure. Then with the power LED, a little bit fiddly. Once you get used to putting these little those little connectors in, it gets easier. It does get easier. So that's in, the drive's in. We'll put the capture card back in here now. Do it without looking this time. Don't know whether that's gonna pull that out. Don't want the card coming out, but I don't want it to be loose either, because I'm going to be plugging different things in. I'm going to be plugging audio cables in, etc, etc. But I want to make sure that it's got a good connection on the motherboard. Right, and could connect this up as well. I've got two choices here. I can connect it over here to system fan, or I can connect it down here to system fan. I think we're going to go with the bottom one. Now, fan headers. That's what they call these connections, fan headers. Now, they're normally 4-pin. Normally a 4-pin connection. See if I can route that cable through. Try and tidy it up just a little bit so it's not running directly down the middle of the PC. Cable management, of course. Get it out of sight. Out of sight, out of mind. Right, so fan headers. Like I say, fan headers are normally 4 pin, but a lot of fans might only be 3 pin, and your fan header has this little plastic piece, little plastic bracket here on one side, and if you've only got 3 pins like on this fan, all you do is you put the 3 pins on the side of where that little extra plastic piece is. That got guides. There's little guides on the plug. So you're right. Put the guides onto that little plastic piece at the top or at the bottom to make sure that you're plugging into the correct pins on this fan. So just going through it then, like I say, we've got the RAM's in, the memory, the graphics card's in, the capture card's in, the motherboard is in, all the connections for the front are done. Let's get to the piece of the resistance then. This thing here. This is a processor. This is the brain of your computer. This is what makes everything possible. Without this, the computer wouldn't know what on earth it was doing. These are very, very, very delicate pieces of technology. You've got lots and lots of little pins. These are gold, actual gold. And what we've got to be careful not to do is we don't want to bend any of these pins. You have to make sure that it's lined up correctly. Don't bend any of them. So on the socket, there will be labelled a little arrow, and also, well, you can see that. No, I keep saying that. Try and put there. Try not to block all the light. But on here, this bottom corner here is like put out of a diagonal line. On this side here there's a diagonal line. On this side in the top right hand corner there is a diagonal line. On this side here, in the top left hand corner, there is like a square missing. Rather than a triangle missing, it's more of a square. And also, I don't know if you can see it, but there is an arrow. There's an arrow on there as well. See the cutout, the difference in the cutout from that side, that's diagonal, like triangle shape cutout. That's how we know which way around we want this processor to go. So if I show you the underside of the processor, got diagonal triangle cutout, there, bottom left, and in the top left hand corner you've got the arrow. And if I flip it over as well, arrow here, tell me exactly which way to orient the processor. I'm just going to gently drop that into the pins, drop the pins in the holes. That's in there, it's not moving around. It's a little bit of a wiggle, but what we're going to do is we're going to put this lever down. That is going to secure the tray in place. It's going to secure the processor. You can't take that out now. Everything is secure. Right, now comes for the interesting part. Gotten to clean the other side of this heatsink from when I did my test back in June. Oh. I give this this heatsink a quick clean. Want to get rid of any of the excess liquid, clean. off. Next comes the exciting part. Giving this a good visual inspection, make sure it's nice and clear. It's a little bit dusty, but it'll do the job. Right, so this is an all-in-one cooler. We've got radiator in the middle, a fan on either side. Then this is your copper heatsink, which does the transfer of the heat. Right, so you get this attached, and then this is going to sit. That looks like a good position there. Have that down there. I may have put that fan on. Right, I'm going to take this fan off. Basically, the way that you build one of these up is you've got your radiator in the middle, fan on either side. These fans are secured onto the radiator with longer screws. All I'm going to do here is I'm going to rotate this fan on the back. Just rotate it around so that the cable is sitting the way that I would like it to sit. At the moment, not. I want it facing the same way as the other cable so that we can put the cable through the back. Basically, this go all the way through the fan. They attach onto the radiator. So, and we don't want to over tighten these either, because then that'll start making the base of the fan squish together. You may actually snap it, and it's not going to secure to the radiator. A little bit of a bend, but it's not major. Right. Basically, I'm going to do this again. See, I've got these two cables here, and all I want to do is, when I attach this, you know what I've done? I've done that wrong. Dozy to it. Hang on. Well and truly done that wrong. Hey! Fool! What did I do wrong? Come on. Somebody must know what I did wrong. Attach the fan back to the radiator. Well, how on earth am I going to secure it to the case when I've already secured the fan to the radiator? Right, so fan, radiator. Fan's going to go on the back like so. Radiator is then going to attach. So now I'll take my screws, get the holes lined up, then into the radiator. Probably would have been easier doing this. Nope. But I'm gonna make life hard for myself. Do it while it's lying down so you can see it, because I won't have to move the camera just yet. As long as I can get this one lined up. Line up, man. Come on. Come on. Do you want to? Right. I kind of get that one. I've got it. I've got it. I've got it. The bottom. Which should also be lined up, but possibly. I've got them nipped. Tighten them up. As I was saying before, don't over tighten them. Because we don't want this snapping, otherwise it's not going to hold. Right. There you go. That's on now. Radiator is on. Processor's in. Time to connect. Heatsink. Right. This is where my little bag of tricks comes into the mix. Here's some thermal paste that I prepared earlier. So this is Arctic MX4 thermal compound. This is going to aid in the transfer of heat from the processor, from the die on the processor, we call the top lid the die. This paste is going to help in the transferal of the heat from the top of the processor into the copper plate of the all-in-one cooler or your heatsink, whatever you're using, stock cooler, your heatsink. That's where we want the heat to go, because we want it transferred out, in this case, into the radiator so we can cool it down. You want to keep that processor nice and cool. It does its best work when it's cool. So Squire Twitch, this is the part that I remind you to not forget, sir. Don't forget the thermal paste. Now, there's a couple of different ways that people might do this. There's no right or wrong way. No, I shouldn't say that there's no right or wrong way. The wrong way would be to not put any on at all. But there's two ways really in which you can do it. You can put some on, spread it out across the die, and then put your heatsink on. I think normally the best way with a processor is you put a nice little dollop in the middle. But can you see that? Let me show you. Little dollop there in the middle. Up you come. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to put the heatsink down on top of that, and it's going to spread out from the pressure of the heatsink. Okay. See? I've got my 4 thumb screws here. Now what I want to do is I want to gently put these down a little bit at a time. One. I don't want to put them one down all the way. I want nice even pressure. I'm going to cross over each time. Start on the top left, then the bottom right, bottom left, till I'm getting about the same pressure as what I've got on the rest of them. Then the last one, top right. I'm going to go top left again, bottom right again. Not perfect, but like I say, you don't really want to be going all guns blazing on one of them. And again, you don't want this too tight because you don't want to start bending. If you put too much pressure on these screws and secure it too tight, that is absolutely fine there. It is secure. It's not moving anywhere. If you put too much pressure on this, you will probably end up bending the processor. And you really don't want to do that. That is going to cause issues. Right. The next thing we're going to do is we've got to put a power supply in. Because we need to get this all hooked up. And to do that, I'm wondering if I can just move this case down towards the end of the bench and slide the power supply in without moving, you guys. because I don't really want to move yous. I'm going to try that. On the bottom. On it, through the dust filter. Please don't break it. What do you mean don't break it? The X broke it, I'm fixing it. Right. Power supply's able to go in. Unfortunately, can't see that. I will move you. Power supply. Let's hope not for the second time. Well, CEX have no part in this. Well, yeah, we've got that graphics card, but I know that that works. Apologies, I'm just grabbing my screws here. Get this power supply tightened in. Right in the. What do you think of the music? Can anybody hear the music, or is it like really quiet? Well, you know what you want. What am I like? You mean I've got to break something and then fix it? Not the case. Music's quite good. Good. I'm glad you like the music. It's just a channel on YouTube that I found. Is your gamer music? Well, it's similar to the gamer music, but not quite. This is royalty-free music. So we've got something on in the background, and it means that I'm not going to get any copyright strikes. I'll be 2 seconds. Sorry, had to be done. Skål. That is very you. Have to break it to fix it. Not always. I don't break the car. The car breaks itself. But I fix that. Right. This is gonna be the awkward part. I need to try now and get I'll put that through here. I think you helped the car. What do you mean I helped the car? Right. Just a quick mention of this thing I have in my hand. This is a 24-pin connector. You'll notice that 4 of the pins are able to separate. Some motherboards only require a 20-pin connection. The pins themselves, the connection, are shaped in a way as it will only go in one way. This board requires the 24, so that just sits on the end, and then you push this one in. Make sure it's nice and firm and secure. It has to be all the way in, otherwise it won't make a good connection, and then your board's not going to work. Simple. Need another connection. Needs CPU power. Bring in this top hole up here. I'm going to sort cable management out afterwards. Oh, pants. That's gonna have to. Yeah. I haven't done this right. I've done it right, but it's not where I wanted it. I hide that. I don't think I'm going to get away with hiding this wire. Because this board is laid out a little differently than what I wanted it to be, so never mind. Going to bed. I should have plugged this in before I plugged it in. Before I put the fans on. Put this one in. Bit of a tight fit. In. In you get. Get in! Right, it's in. Not sure about this. Really not sure about that. Don't think it's going to reach if I try and take it any other way. Right, just for I ain't having it. I am not having it. That one can go in there. I'll just ramp that one up to 100%. That one can go on there. And then these ones can go through the back and come out the other side. I'm not doing that. Right, I'm going to stand this up. Just have to bear with me a second. While I reroute these cables. Otherwise, it's going to do me head in. Oh. Right. Put this down this way now. Oh, turn it around. I'm a bit warm. Bit hot. Hard drive bay on the back here. This is where all the cable management takes place. Out of sight, out of mind is the philosophy. Basically. The less of the cables that we can see, the better. That's why we put all the cables in the back. And we don't want to think about the cables. That's why we hide all the cables in the back. That under there. That under there. Counting the cables now from this power supply because it's not a modular power supply. This is the one that I want. This is one of the ones that I want. Untangle it from the mess that is. Ah, it's going crazy. That's the graphics card cable, but we don't have a graphics card that requires external power in this case. This is a SATA connection for a fan controller. Only got one fan plugged into it. See that? Hang on, no. Yeah. There's only one fan plugged into this. And then the other SATA connection can just be stuck down in the pool. We don't need that one. Down in there. Get in. I don't need this extra power for the graphics card. That can go in there. And then I've got this other fan controller here, which requires a Molex connection. Shoot me now. You feel free to shoot me now that I'm using a Molex connection. It's like 2019 and I'm still using this Molex connection. Yeah, I know. But it's just what this requires. I did have cable ties all over the place here. Yeah. That's clearly went out the window as well. Just want to get this back together. And I'm going to shove that. Actually, shove it in there. It'll be out of sight as well. I've just realised I still need one more connection. This is the SATA power. Going to power our hard drive. Do the same thing with it. Just try and shove it down. Unfortunately, the clearance in this case is not fantastic. There you go. Out of sight, out of mind. Just like that. I'll line this up correctly. Right. Yeah, let's see if I can just tip you up a little bit. Oh god. That's slightly better. Right. So I'm just going to plug a couple of connections in. Just for test purposes. DVI connect monitor. Not going to hook anything else up, we're just going to hook up power. That's in. Right. Moment of truth. Everything's connected. And power on. There you go. Ta-da! Did you ever have any doubt in your mind that that would not work? How do I change the button on this monitor? There you go. There. They're booting up in the background. Fans are going something funky. They're doing. Board is. I think the controller on this one might be broken. That's kind of using the other one. Try this one. Still not working. Anyway. Anywho, there you go, right? Just look there. See on the monitor back here. The computer is loaded up. Fix It Felix with Neo VR. Come on. There you go, that's it. I'm just going to power it down. And I'm going to move it off the desk. The boy's going to be very happy because he's been waiting for his computer to get put back together. Plug all the connections in. He will be over the moon. That one's not long enough. I disappear under the desk here. I'll keep talking. All I'm doing is plugging connections in. Wonder if you can still hear me from down. Nothing exciting. On. Mouse. Right, this is his mouse mat here. Why is it not working? Which controls do what? Oh no, they're the same fans, that's right. Oh. Yeah, they do the same thing. Okay, silly me. God, what's the stuff? Right. So he's going to be happy now anyway because he's back up and running, so to speak. Whew. There you go. Windows operating system. Temperatures. With the brand new thermal paste on there, all-in-one water cooler. CPU processor temperature is sitting at 33 degrees C. So 33 degrees at idle, there's Discord loading up. Graphics cards are 38, main board is 27 degrees. I don't know if I've got the software. I'm just going to go in the BIOS. So what do you reckon? Did I do good? You'll do good. RGB in the background as well. Like them soundproof tiles. Do you like them soundproof tiles? Come on, get us in the BIOS, please. There we go. BIOS has been reset. Okay. Right, on this BIOS we can use mouse and keyboard. Frequency wise, I want to. What I'm doing here. You just crap. Oh, move that out of the way. Oh boy! Right. Cool. What we're doing now is we're on the BIOS settings. And this is basically going to tell the PC what we want it to do at startup. And we're changing all these different settings to affect the way that the computer boots up and whatever it does. So this is frequencies. This is your loading, your landing page here. We've got advanced frequency settings. I'm going to go into that. We've got CPU clock. Now this processor stock runs 3.2 gigahertz. That's on every core. This is a 6-core processor. Now what we can do is, I know that this this processor can run. I've like completely disappeared because I turned the light. This processor can run 3.6 gigahertz boost. It's quite safely. That is what AMD say. But to change this, this is actually overclocking, and I'm not worried about overclocking this processor because we've got an all-in-one cooler. So I know we're going to keep the temperatures down. And I've got 5. I've got, not including the fans on the radiator, there is 5 other fans inside that case. Including the radiator fans, there's 7. So there's 4 intake, 3 intake, and 4 exhaust. So we've got that negative pressure. Right. So as I say, we can overclock this a little bit. Just up to safe level. I'm not going to go mad overclocking it. Just going to go to a safe level. Do that. I'm going to go into CPU clock ratio. What I'm going to do is page down. Starts at 8. Clock ratio at the minute is 32. I'm going to scroll around 20. 20 would be 2.0 gigahertz. 33 gigahertz. If I set it at 32, that matches what it is now. That's 3.2, but there's no point in us doing that because we're trying to overclock it a little bit. As I say, safe limits, according to Ryzen, according to AMD, the Ryzen chip that we've got, the Ryzen 560, can operate at 3.6 gigahertz, so that's a clock ratio 36. I'm going to save that. I'm going to save and exit. Save and exit. Yes. Like to see. Then that's going to boot. It's going to do a post or power on self test. It's going through its power on self test or post. Then it's going to boot to Windows because the hard drive is searching for a boot partition on a hard drive. And the hard drive then says, oh look, I've got Windows. We can use Windows, we can boot to Windows, right? Okay, let's boot to Windows. That. Come into the login screen. Light this keyboard. And there you go, we're on Windows. Metrics still show that we've got 16 gigabytes of memory, or RAM, that's fine. But if we look at Task Manager, performance, in the box here, which is Cannot really. God, colours are terrible on this camera. Mouse is in the way. Out the way, mouse. 3.59. So that tells us that it's running at just under 3.6 gigahertz. Utilization of 5%. It is a 6-core. Yeah. That's pretty much it. That's like... that's his computer back up and running now for the sake of a motherboard which cost me £40. Once I get the refund for the other board, original board cost 46. This one was 70. This board's cost me like, what's that? An extra 25 quid. But I don't know. I think this board is probably going to be a bit better than the last one. I wasn't too keen on that board anyway. Just because the layout and there you go. Basically, yeah, because of the layout, I didn't like it. But now that I've got that set up, now we're going to be doing more dual PC streaming. I'm going to get it connected with an HDMI cable, get my graphics output, capture card, and we're going to be using this PC. Once this PC has a better graphics card in, we'll be using this PC as the streaming PC and this PC, which you're on now, as the gaming PC. That will hopefully lighten the load and allow me to stream games at either higher settings or games that require more resources, such as VR chat, because optimization is not great. But I have to say, like, no, it's not great when you're trying to stream virtual reality. Certain games it's alright because they're not massively source dependent. But VR chat, things like VR chat and on Beat Saber and get a little bit finicky when it comes to streaming. If anybody is in need of any little bits and pieces, yeah, I've got a box here as well, box full of cables and stuff like that. If anybody is in any need, if anybody's in need of any bits like the AM4 brackets for coolers, things like that, heat sinks, if anybody needs Molex to SATA connections, if you need anything, drop us a message. I've probably got something somewhere which you can have. If you want to pick my brains at any time, feel free to pick my brains. I will try my best to assist. Catch me on stream. I stream Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, and I'm going to do the Sunday one. I'm going to do it every other week, just so that I'm not overwhelming myself with streaming. So it's Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, 8 PM UK. I mean, like bits like this. I mean, I've got loads of bits off like coolers and things, which, like all of these things, like this. That's an Intel bracket for that water cooler that we've just put in there. But obviously, I don't have Intel, so like you get all these extra bits with your equipment. Most of it you don't use, but I just keep it because you never know. Never know. Somebody might want something off us. Somebody might be in dire need of something, and I can say, yeah, I've got one of them. Of course you can have it. So there you go. That's him back up and running. Mind if I do say it all myself? Get sat down in a second. Now I can send this board back to Amazon. Print off my returns label. Can package it up correctly when I find the bag, whatever the hell I did with the bag. Attached to the box. Yeah, I think what we might do actually is I put them brackets back on the correct way around. Can't say, wow, look at this. Can't even put the brackets on the correct way. This will go back to Amazon. I'll get me money back for that. Anyway, anybody any questions? What I'll do is, because the stream's only like an hour and a half, I'll try and go through it when I've got time. I'll try and get video made as well for the YouTube page. That much like highlights. Not be like, won't be fully in depth. I don't expect anybody to sit for an hour and a half, watch full VOD back. But there might be certain bits which we can cut out. Make it a bit easier watching. Right, so that's going to get sent back. Package that up and I'm going to send that back tomorrow. My chair has somehow made its way to the back. We'll go back. Get myself sat down now. Or the mess, because you never really see the mess. Like, far too high. Far too high. Right, well, I'll tell you what. Hold it. Ignore the mess. Right, I'll leave it at that. Like I say, if you've got any questions, feel free to drop us a message. At us on Twitter, we're Neofear1, at Neofear1 on Twitter. Like I say, keep an eye on the YouTube page. I'll put something on the YouTube page as well. Just type in Neofear VR on YouTube. Find my channel. Have a look down below in the channels. Link to YouTube, or if you're on the phone, slide along to info and there'll be a button there you can press. I don't know how much of my talk and the microphone is actually picking up because the filter's still on. Well, there you go. Right, hope you've enjoyed, and we'll be back on Thursday night. Good night, everybody. We're gonna do this right. Am I going to do it right? Do it without messing it up. Ready? Ready? Should I roll the credits or should we end? Let's roll the credits. Why not? Right. Good night.